The printer hummed its monotonous tune, a steady beat against the silence of the office, as the table lamps cast warm pools of light over the cluttered desks. The soft glow illuminated piles of paper, half-empty coffee mugs, and the occasional forgotten pen, creating an intimate cocoon of productivity amidst the vast emptiness of the office space. I rubbed my eyes, trying to push away the fatigue that had settled in like a stubborn fog, the kind that creeps in slowly and lingers long after the sun has set. The clock ticked relentlessly in the background, each second a reminder of the hours spent chasing perfection on blueprints that seemed to blur together in the dim light. That's when I heard her voice, low and intimate, slicing through the quiet like a delicate knife cutting through velvet. "No one knows you like I do," she said, leaning over my desk, her words hanging in the air like the scent of her perfume, a subtle mix of jasmine and something else I couldn't quite place. It was a fragrance that spoke of sophistication and mystery, much like the woman herself. Her fingers brushed the mouse, and I could feel the heat of her presence beside me, close enough to blur the line between professional and personal, between admiration and something more profound. "My name is Michael Reed. I'm 32, an architect by trade, and tonight I was trapped in a labyrinth of blueprints and revisions. The office, usually bustling with energy during the day, was deserted except for me and her, Claire Mitchell, my colleague. She was 35, a seasoned architect with a reputation for precision and a demeanor that oscillated between stern and unexpectedly tender. Her presence was a constant reminder of both admiration and the boundaries I dared not cross, lines drawn in the sand that could shift with the tides of our interactions. Claire had always been an enigma to me, like a complex design that refused to reveal its secrets. Her mind was a fortress, guarded by walls of professionalism, yet there were moments when the facade cracked, revealing glimpses of vulnerability that intrigued me. Tonight, as she pointed out corrections on my latest project, her focus seemed to waver. Her blouse was slightly undone at the top, a testament to the day's stress, and there was something territorial in the way her nails tapped rhythmically on the desk, like a heartbeat echoing through the stillness. "Do you talk to anyone else here the way you talk to me?" she asked, her eyes meeting mine, searching for something I wasn't sure I could give. Her gaze was steady, yet there was a flicker of uncertainty, a question she seemed hesitant to voice fully. I hesitated, caught off guard by the question, wondering if there was a hidden meaning beneath her words. "No," I finally replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the sudden rush of emotions swirling inside me. "I guess I don't." Her lips curled into a half-smile, a gesture that seemed to hold worlds of unspoken sentiment, and she leaned back slightly, breaking the charged moment with a sigh. "You're too hard on yourself, Michael. These mistakes are minor. You'll fix them." Her voice was soft, carrying an assurance that wrapped around me like a warm blanket, providing comfort in the face of self-doubt. As she spoke, I found myself drawn to the way she seemed to occupy the space around her with an effortless grace. The office, with its muted lighting and the distant hum of machines, felt like a world apart from reality. Yet, the tension between us was palpable, a silent current that neither of us acknowledged but couldn't ignore. It was as though we were dancing on the edge of something undefined, something that could tip into chaos or settle into calm, depending on the choices we made. "Thanks," I muttered, trying to infuse my voice with more confidence than I felt. "I'll get it right." The words were a promise, not just to her, but to myself, an affirmation of my commitment to the craft and the unspoken bond forming between us. She nodded, and for a moment, the air between us was heavy with unsaid things, a tapestry woven from glances and half-formed thoughts. I watched her as she moved, the light catching in her hair, creating a halo effect that seemed almost ethereal. But the moment shattered as the phone on my desk buzzed, a sharp intrusion into our private bubble, a reminder of the outside world that lay beyond our shared space. I glanced at the screen, just a notification, nothing important. but it was enough to break whatever spell had been cast between us. Claire straightened, her professional mask slipping back into place, a seamless transition from vulnerability to the poised facade she wore during the day. "Let's wrap this up soon. It's getting late," she said, her voice returning to its usual clipped efficiency, a tone that brooked no argument yet carried an underlying warmth. I watched her retreat to her desk, feeling the loss of her proximity like a physical ache. The office seemed colder without her nearby, and I couldn't help but wonder what it was about her that drew me in so completely. Was it her intellect, her grace, or the enigmatic nature that promised more than she revealed? Perhaps it was the promise of understanding, of being seen and known in a way that transcended the superficial layers of everyday interaction. As I returned to my work, trying to focus on the task at hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that tonight had changed something between us. The boundaries were still there, but they felt more like guidelines now, flexible, subject to the whims of two people caught in a delicate dance. It was as if we were on a precipice, with the potential for something new and uncharted lying just beyond our current reality. The clock ticked on, the hours slipping away as I buried myself in revisions. Every so often, I'd glance over at Claire, catching her watching me with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. Each time, I'd look away, pretending the weight of her gaze didn't affect me, even as it lingered in the corners of my mind like a haunting melody. But it did, more than I cared to admit. Her presence was a constant reminder of the possibilities that lay hidden beneath the surface of our interactions, possibilities that beckoned with a quiet insistence. The night wore on, and soon we were the only souls left in the building. The city outside was a blur of lights and shadows, a world removed from the isolation of our office. As I finished the last of the corrections, I felt a sense of accomplishment tempered by an underlying tension that refused to dissipate, a reminder that the night held more than just work. Claire stood up, stretching slightly, and I couldn't help but notice the way her shirt pulled taut across her shoulders, the fabric outlining the graceful curves of her form. She walked over to my desk again, her movements fluid and confident, each step a testament to the self-assuredness that defined her. "Ready to head out?" she asked, her tone casual. But there was an undercurrent of something more, a note of anticipation that resonated with my own unspoken desires. "Yeah, just about," I replied, shutting down my computer. "Thanks for the help tonight." The words felt inadequate, a simple expression of gratitude for a night that had been anything but ordinary. She shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips, a gesture that seemed to say she understood the inadequacy of words. "Anytime, Michael. You know I'm always here if you need me." Her voice held a promise, one that extended beyond the confines of the office, hinting at a connection that could flourish if given the chance. We gathered our things in companionable silence, the closeness between us both comforting and dangerous. As we made our way to the elevator, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing on the edge of something that could change everything if we let it. It was a feeling that resonated deep within me, stirring emotions that had been dormant for far too long. The elevator doors closed, and we descended in silence, the hum of the machinery the only sound between us. I could feel her presence beside me, a warmth that seemed to seep into my skin, and I wondered if she felt it too. The silence was not empty. It was filled with the weight of possibilities, a shared understanding that transcended words. When the doors opened, we stepped out into the lobby, the cool air a sharp contrast to the warmth of the office. We paused, a moment of hesitation stretching between us as we stood on the threshold of the night, each of us aware of the unspoken question hanging in the air. "I've enjoyed working with you, Michael," she said softly, her eyes meeting mine with a sincerity that sent a thrill through me. Her words were simple, yet they carried a depth of meaning that spoke to the connection that had formed between us. "Me too," I replied, my voice barely louder than a whisper, the admission a release of the tension that had built throughout the night. There was a moment, a heartbeat where we stood frozen, caught in the gravity of the unspoken connection between us. But then she turned, breaking the spell, yet leaving behind a promise of more, a future that shimmered on the horizon like a mirage. "Good night, Michael," she said, her voice a soft echo in the empty lobby, a farewell that carried the weight of possibilities. "Good night, Claire." As she walked away, I watched her go, feeling the weight of the night settle around me like a shroud. The boundaries were still there, but they felt different now, like a challenge, a question left unanswered. It was a challenge I found myself eager to meet, a question I longed to explore. I stepped out into the night, the cool air a balm against the heat of the office. The streets were quiet, the city asleep, but my mind was a whirl of thoughts and possibilities. The night had changed something, but I wasn't sure what. All I knew was that I wasn't the same man who had walked into the office that morning. I was someone else now, someone who had glimpsed the edge of a new reality and found himself wanting more. As I drove home, the city lights blurring past, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something I didn't fully understand but couldn't ignore. And as I pulled into my driveway, the house silent and dark, I felt a strange sense of hope that whatever lay ahead was worth the risk. It was a hope that resonated deep within me, a promise of change that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The night stretched ahead, full of possibilities, and I was ready to face whatever came next. Whatever it was, it would be different, a new chapter in a story I hadn't even realized I was writing. But for now, the night was enough, a promise of something more, something that was both terrifying and exhilarating in its uncertainty. And as I stood there, the night wrapped around me like a cloak. I knew that I would never forget the moment when Claire Mitchell had leaned over my desk and changed everything. It was a moment that marked the beginning of a journey, one that I was eager to embark upon, driven by the knowledge that the night held more than just memories. It held the promise of a future yet to be written.